Hello there friends and welcome. For today's updated companion guide we have Woljif, the Thiefling. With this build your Woljif will become quite the meat cleaver with his dual dagger for a total of 10 attacks per round, that's right, 5 on the main hand and yet another 5 on the off hand, all at pretty high damage, higher than 70. Further empowered by 10 whole dice of sneak attack and great critical range and multiplier too, while also combined with a very healthy amount of armor class, 80+, and extreme initiative to ensure you'll act even before demon lords on unfair. Lastly, you'll also be able to provide amazing support to your party members by casting even personal only buffs on them such as shield, animal aspect, false life, and even transformation. So without further ado, let us get started on our Woljif dual wielding build. Alright, so when it comes to building Woljif, I still think going Alchemist and Vivisectionist is by far the most optimal way. Vivisectionist has always been one of the most busted classes in the whole game. It is that good. You'll still retain full sneak attack progression, you have up to level 6 spellcasting for some very powerful buffs, the mutagen to highly increase both your dexterity and damage and attack rolls, and even loads of bonus feats that you can use to enhance some alchemist abilities, or get access to any normal feat through combat trick, so overall super stacked. The main reason I'd rather keep Woljif as a Vivisectionist is, well, while it is true you have other classes that also increase sneak attack, such as Shadow Shaman or Cult Leader WARPRIEST, we don't have any alchemist party member, and thanks to the infusion discovery, your Woljif will be able to cast all the alchemist spells on all party members, which is very important for personal only powerful buffs like for example shield. Now you can certainly go for Ranger and Demonslayer too, which will have even higher base attack bonus progression than Vivisectionist, favorite enemy bonuses against all demons, which is amazing for dual wielding, and of course the super powerful pet. The thing is, I've just done a Demonslayer build and I kinda didn't want another pet build again. Plus Vivisectionist has the special support synergy through personal buffs for party members. However, for level 4, I prefer to keep him as a scoundrel, mostly for the super useful debilitating injury ability. And of course you want to pick Bewildered. This way, whenever Woljif attacks the enemy with a sneak attack, which is super easy to do, they'll take a -2 penalty to armor class for all your party members. Except for Woljif, it will become a -4. This is huge, and honestly a must-have. Plus your Woljif will also get access to level 2 mage buffs, mostly for mirror image to highly increase his defenses, as he is a close range melee character. At level 4, increase dexterity, which is also what you increase on all of the other levels, well, besides level 20, which is when you should increase constitution, to maximize Woljif's attack rolls and damage, since he already has finesse training with daggers, so whenever he attacks with a dagger, it is his dexterity modifier that counts for damage instead of strength. For skill points, honestly Woljif already has the best skills for him: mobility, trickery, stealth, perception, and then use magic device. You don't need anything else. For level 2 spells, mirror image is the one you'll be spamming the most. Now from level 5 onwards is when you want to go all out into Vivisectionist. For a level 5 feat, combat reflexes, as Woljif has super high dexterity and we are soon getting outflanked to truly empower our attacks of opportunity to the max. You can pretty much pick almost all of the Vivisectionist spells you get here. Shield and Enlarge are what really matters for the early game, mostly Shield, which lasts you for the whole game even. For level 6, be sure to pick Infusion, which is part of what makes Alchemist so good for party support. For level 7, Outflank is always a must-have, especially for dual wielding characters, because the bonus apply to both your weapons, and you have even higher critical hit chance for more attacks of opportunity to your whole party. For level 8, I'd rather go with Combat Trick and improve at weapon fighting, but if you prefer, you can delay it for later and go with Feral Mutagen now for the extra bite attack. The thing is, Woljif, when dual wielding daggers, has so many attacks per round anyways, that I don't think this is necessary. And as far as Feral Wings, the +3 dodge bonus against melee attacks is indeed great, but we have Concealment, we have mirror images, we have high AC anyways. I don't think it's needed, at least not so early in the game. Plus we don't get dexterity applied to damage with bites. We do with daggers though, thus improved weapon fighting now. For your first level 2 spells, Animal Aspect to me is the best if you have parties with pets that trip. like I do, because Infusion allows you to cast this on any ally, including pets. And when you choose the Gorilla aspect, pets like Dog, Wolf, Triceratops, and the Boar will get a huge +4 bonus to their trip rolls. For level 9, Piranha Strike, this can actually add a lot of extra damage because of how many attacks you have, and it will be multiplied through critical hits. Then I'd go for False Life here, because you can cast it on allies, and temporary HP is always amazing to have. On the other hand, if you don't have a SKALD, a Bard, or anyone else to provide Blur, be sure to pick Blur here. For level 10, Combat Trick, Weapon Focus, and Dagger to get started on our Shatter Defenses package later for level 15. And then you can pick anything you want here. For level 11, 100% Improved Critical, and Daggers. Daggers might not have as high critical range as kukris, scimitars, or rapiers, but 17 to 20 is still pretty decent, just like a longsword. And because of how many attacks you have per round when dual wielding, the more attacks you have with high critical chance, the higher the chances of drowning the enemies in attacks of opportunity through the outflank feat. For your first level 3 spell, this is going to depend. Haste is of course always a must-have, but at this point, level 11, you definitely already have another character that can take care of it. For me, it's my SKALD. I'd rather go for protection from arrows communal now, as usually no one in my party can cast this. For level 12, I'd rather already get Combat Trick and Dancing Display, because your feat selection from now on until around 17 is rather tight. And for level 13, Shatter Defenses, earlier than 15 only because of what I just said. Our next feats and discoveries are set in stone. Might as well pick the Rage spell here. For level 14, I'd go with Dispelling Attack, even if Woljif has lower Vivisectionist levels. Because of how many attacks we have, chances are you will end up dispelling some effects from the enemies. And then Echolocation is a must-have. Unlike True Seeing, this can pretty much bypass almost all sources of concealment in the game, and you can buff it on all party members at super high duration, it will never run out. For level 15, Greater to Weapon Fighting, which is why I picked Shatter Defenses earlier. And then I'd go for Greater False Life, but if you don't have anyone else that can cast Greater Invisibility, pick it instead. Greater False Life actually stacks with the normal False Life for even more temporary HP, and we can cast this on all allies. For level 16, Greater Mutagen, a must-have. Level 17 is when I would pick Improved Initiative, just in time for the toughest battles at Chapter 5. Level 5 alchemy spells are kinda disappointing overall, at least for this build. Chances are someone like CAMELLIA can already cast Stone Skin Communal like 10 levels before your Woljif, so honestly you can pick anything you want, might as well go for Stone Skin Communal. At level 18, because we pretty much already have almost everything we need, this is when I'd go for Feral Mutagen. And anything else here. Your level 19 feat can be anything you want. I don't find Hammer the Gap that useful. Since we have Echolocation, we don't really need Blind Fight. I'd rather just go for Arcane Strike for a little bit more damage. For level 20, remember to increase Constitution instead of Dexterity, or you can just increase Constitution first and then Dexterity afterwards. And at last, Grand Mutagen. Yes, I don't pick Feral Wings for reasons I explained before. I think we have enough armor class and other layers of defense as it is. Especially now that Mind Blank will block enemies from bypassing your displacement and concealment effects. Now, alchemists actually have pretty powerful level 6 spells to make up for the disappointing 5 ones. Ideally, Transformation is the way to go here. Because of its unique nature, the other buffs can just be cast by other casters, not Transformation though, at least not on allies. It's especially useful for characters that have many multiclasses, that don't have high base attack bonus, or pets. Alright, now let's cover Mythic Progression for our Woljif. So if you are on Unfair, I highly recommend Last Stand, because of how useful it is. For Hard and below it's not needed since you don't take double damage. I'd much rather pick Abundant Casting here. This will work for both his Scoundrel, Spellbook, and also Alchemist, and both classes have pretty useful low-level spells to buff both yourself and party members, so it's a must-have to me. For Mythic level 2, Mythic to Weapon Fighting to remove all our penalties when dual wielding daggers. For Mythic 3, Ever Ready as usual, always a must-have for any build focused on attacks of opportunity, especially dual wielders, with their numerous attacks and high critical range. For Mythic 4, speaking about criticals, Mythic Critical and Dagger. For Mythic 5, if you have a SKALD party member to provide pounce, then definitely Mythic Charge. The thing with Unrelenting Assault is honestly, most of your battles will be over in one round. at the maximum 2 rounds. So it's not like they will last long enough for the bonus to be worth it, at least if you're following my builds. But it always remains a choice if you like it. If you want to tank your Woljif, Archmage armor can always help. So I suppose I'll pick it now, just to negate a lot of armor class worries. But remember, Woljif has multiple layers of defense, it's not just about AC. We also have temporary hit points, damage reduction, and concealment effects. For Mythic 6, Mythic Piranha Strike. For Mythic 7, I just go with Mythic Charge. But at this point, you can also go with Improved Abundant Casting for more slots of level 4, 5, and most importantly 6. For Mythic 8, Mythic Improved Initiative. At Mythic 9, I'll just go with Last Stand, just in case as usual, for safety, since I didn't pick it before. As I imagine most players aren't really on Unfair. Otherwise, you know, as usual, pick it first. As far as Mythic 10, you can really pick anything you want, such as Mythic Sneak Attacker for an extra dice of sneak attack, Mythic Weapon Focus for +1 AB, even something like Flawless Attacks. Thing is, at this point you have more than enough bonuses to attack rolls. And of course you can use it to get an extra mythic ability of choice. Well, alright, now let's cover gear for our Woljif. For the Amulet slot, I prefer the amulets that increase initiative. Quick Draw for +4, but if you'd rather save this for ranged characters, there's also Combat Awareness for +3, from the latest DLC, the Treasure of the Midnight Isles. Armor is actually detrimental to your Woljif, because of how high you can increase his dexterity. So if you want the highest AC possible with him, go without armor. For the clothing slot, the Cloth of Heavy Fortification can really help by adding 75% chance to negate sneak attack and critical hits. For belts, at first belts that increase dexterity, later dexterity and constitution. For the glove slots, you have a few different choices. If you want your Woljif to be as tanky as possible, then the embroidered gloves, thanks to the super rare +3 luck bonus to armor class. Otherwise, you can also go for Fencer's Gift as usual for dual wielders, for the +3 bonus to the offhand. But if you'd rather leave it for another dual wielder, there's always the Gloves of the Death Dealer 2 to further increase your sneak attack damage. For boots, well, Ronak Sacrifice is definitely the best choice for Woljif. +8 to dexterity is extremely powerful, so are the armor class bonuses. And honestly, unless your main character is focused on dexterity, there's really no other better choice other than Woljif or Camellia, as ranged characters like Lan, Wendwag or ARUESHALAE, they don't really need the armor class bonus this gives you, and they can just use armor that increases dexterity instead. For the helmet slot, I really enjoy Windmaster Helmet for the extra bonus to initiative. While it is true you can go with Headbands of Intelligence, they kinda don't matter that much. You'll have enough slots as it is to the abundant mythic ability. Now you might also consider going with the Triple Fin Helmet for the extra gore attack per round it gives you. Even if the damage is low, we'll add sneak attack to this, which is great. For Googles, Rascal's Googles is by far the best, for the +10 huge bonus to Perception and also Trickery, 2 skills Woljif excels at. For cloaks, pretty much the Cloaks of Resistance with the highest modifier as usual. As far as rings, the Ring of Guiding Star for even more initiative. As I said in the beginning, this Woljif stacks as high initiative as possible. For the second ring, I really like the Martyr's Testament, if only for the immunity to all mind-affecting conditions. Truth be told, Woljif has pretty low will, so he is pretty prone to getting confused, which is very annoying. For braces, Abrupt Onslaught is my favorite, for the extra bonus to sneak attack damage. You don't really need braces of armor because Woljif, he can cast mage armor even at the beginning of the game. And well, with this build at least, I got the Archmage armor feat to boost it even further up to +14 at Mythic 10. Now let us cover weapons and Quickslots. I already have a guide with the best daggers in the game, including their progression, that you can check to the side here or in the pinned comment down below. But ultimately, I really enjoy having Retriever's Claw on the main hand and Hasty Eradicator on the offhand. These daggers can actually all be found up to chapter 3, Retriever's Claw at chapter 2 in Leper's Mile, and it is here because of the super unique property of increasing your critical multiplier by a ×1. By default, daggers have ×2 critical multiplier. This dagger has ×3, further increased to ×4 with Mythic critical and ×5 with a SKALD. It's quite powerful. Now, while you might make a case for Cruel Fate on the main hand, you can only get this if you spare the Yoz NPC demon in the Assassin's Guild quest for Greyboar, But anyways, it also has a somewhat unique property of making the enemy vulnerable to piercing damage for 2 rounds if they fail a DC 30 save on the first hit against them, which is pretty nice because piercing damage is all we do, as we are focused on daggers. The problem is you can only get this dagger at chapter 4, and DC 30 Fortitude doesn't really cut it, especially for hard and unfair, I'm afraid. I'd much rather go with Retriever's Claw, and you can always buff it with, for example, Greater Magic Weapon for the maximum enhancement of +5, and also Crusader's Edge for Outsider Bane. Not to mention other stuff you give it, Holy and so on, for even higher damage. Our critical range is decent, and well, we have 5 main hand attacks. Even more, because attacks of opportunity also come from your main hand, so the extra critical damage is really worth it to me. For your offhand, Hasty Eradicator is by far the best, there's just no contest whatsoever. This is an extremely unique weapon, because it lets you perform 2 additional attacks during a full attack action. While it does not stack with haste, it doesn't matter, because haste only provides an extra attack to your main hand. This is why we added to our offhand for 5 extra attacks. It really is overpowered. You can get it during Regius quest at chapter 3 at the Hell Knight's outpost. As far as Quickslots, Lesser Extend and Normal Extend meta magic rods to increase the duration of some of your powerful Alchemist and Scoundrel buffs. The Imp Familiar for the very useful +2 profane bonus to Trickery and Stealth to skills Woljif excels at. Because Woljif has very high use magic device, you can also use any scroll in the game with him, including powerful supportive divine scrolls like Mass Heal, even buff himself with Fiery Body for immunity to critical hits and ability damage, or other useful stuff like Mind Blank Communal. Last but not least, remember that you can actually give Woljif a pet through the Bismuth statuette and then ride it to battle. It's unbuffed here, but it can achieve decent armor class. I mean, 48 when completely unbuffed, you can go way higher than that with buffs. So if you want to have a mounted Woljif for free, you can do this, although I don't think it's needed. We have pretty decent armor class just by ourselves after all, even higher depending on your mythic path. Now let's do a quick section on spell allocation for our Woljif. As far as your Scoundrel spells, you only have up to level 2, so first, basically mage armors, especially to buff yourself and your pets. After that, mostly true strikes. You can also go with Grease at the early levels, to crowd control enemies. As for level 2, honestly just mirror images. It really is one of the best defensive buffs, and will help keep your Woljif alive quite a lot. As far as alchemy spells, Shield to basically buff any character at melee that doesn't use shields. Most importantly, pets, dual wielders and two-handers. Also True Strike. Reduce Person is a buff that can help Woljif by furthering increasing his dexterity, as that's what matters for his attack rolls and damage too. However, since the benefit isn't that high, you might also prefer to have someone cast Legendary Proportions on him. It will reduce his AB a bit, although this doesn't have a dexterity penalty unlike Enlarged Person. Most importantly, it will give your Woljif reach, so he can attack from a bit far away. Animal Aspect Gorilla for your tripping pets, or another character that has trip, and mostly false lives. Bark Skin I just leave to Camellia or Darren with Nature Mystery anyways. Level 3, Haste if you don't have anyone else that can cast it, otherwise, 1 cast of Protection from Arrows Communal, and mostly Displacements for Concealment. For level 4, mostly Echolocation and also Greater False Life. Greater Invisibility too, but you kinda already have Displacement. Level 5 is pretty poor, mostly Stone Skin Communal and Spell Resistance. As for level 6, usually just Transformation because of how powerful it is. Spells like Heal and Legendary Proportions you can leave to other casters. Transformation on allies though, only you can do it through Infusion or if you are a Brown Fur Transmuter. Well, alright friends, so this was it for my updated Woljif build guide. If you found it useful as usual, please remember to like, subscribe and even consider becoming a channel member. Your support is really welcome. Thank you for watching and see you next time, friends.